it's Fabs and welcome back to a Fab Kitchen. Today we are continuing trying recipes from Mastering the Art of French Cooking by Julia Child, Simone Beck and Louisette Berthold. So I'm really excited for this one because we're finally doing a dessert recipe from this book. And so the dessert recipes are legit like my favourite part of trying any cookbook. And today we are doing the chocolate mousse. And the French name, like one of the French names, there are 3 French names in this cookbook for this chocolate mousse recipe. And one of the names is mayonnaise au chocolat, which is interesting but a little bit frightening because it literally means chocolate mayonnaise. But we will actually find out later on in this episode whether it actually tastes like mayonnaise because there are plenty of eggs in this recipe. So in this series I am promoting One Dotty Duck. So definitely check out her earrings and her necklaces on her Instagram page and also on her Etsy store because there are so many. And usually I actually react to earrings because I've got really sensitive skin around my earlobes, but these don't react at all. So that is amazing. So if you do struggle with that problem as well, check her out. But anyway, let's get cooking. Let's start out by prepping all of our ingredients. Now let's begin by adding our sugar to the egg yolks and whisking until they become a pale yellow and form ribbons. Just like this. Make sure all the sugar has melted. Once it has, grab your orange liqueur and whisk it into the mixture. Then we're going to place the bowl onto a pan filled with water that's just a bit colder than simmering and whisk until the mixture is thickened and, as the book says, too hot for your finger. I took this very literally and stuck my finger in at various intervals until I burnt my pinky, but I'm sure there was a much better way of doing this without causing bodily harm. Now we're going to cool down the mixture by continuing the whisking process in a sink full of cold water. Oh my gosh, this part was so nerve-wracking, literally. Obviously, I overfilled this sink and you really don't want to fill the sink so that the bowl is literally floating on top of it because boy, as you can see, literally there were so many times where water almost went into this mixture. So don't be like me, you know, be smart. So basically you want to cool this mixture down, whisking it until it forms ribbons again. And it does say in the book that it should represent the kind of texture that mayonnaise is. I think it's important to note that the book does say that the consistency should be like mayonnaise, and we're not talking about mayonnaise like you can get in a tube like Heinz or Hellmann's or whatever. We're talking about real homemade mayonnaise kind of consistency. So the consistency is going to be a bit more fluid, I guess, more liquid than the mayonnaise that you would get in the shops in the little tubs or whatever, the square bottles. Now let's move over to the chocolate. Chuck in your coffee to bring out that chocolatey goodness. Then we're going to pop the bowl over the not quite simmering pan and melt it down, combining it all together. Now let's mix in almost an entire block of butter. I honestly did not realize that so much butter went into a mousse. But boy, who cares about cholesterol when your dish is looking that beautiful? Now we're going to beat the chocolate mixture into the egg yolk mixture, and oh my gosh, the streaks in this was so satisfying. I was almost tempted to leave some of the streaks in at the end. Now that that's ready, we're going to beat our egg whites until they're nice and stiff. So I started and I completely forgot that I needed to put some salt in first, so let's do that. And continue. Once you have soft peaks, add in a tablespoon of caster sugar and continue whisking until you get stiff peaks. Now we're going to get a quarter of the egg whites and stir it into the chocolatey mixture. Then we're going to fold in the rest of the egg whites a quarter at a time. This is the kind of consistency it should look like. So rich and luxurious. This is ready to go into a dish and chill in the fridge now. I'm going to put the mousse mixture into the souffle mold that I used in last week's episode, but it does say that you need a dish around 2 pints or more in volume, but I don't have that here, unfortunately. So I am just going to use the souffle mold, and I'm going to try and fit it in another tiny little mold or something. I'm just hoping that it will all fit in, and it does say to turn it in, so I assume that's just pouring it in, but I feel like that's gonna be a bit messy, so I am gonna use a ladle. And despite the ladle supposedly making it less messy, I still did not manage to escape the mess that is chocolate. Cooking with chocolate is honestly like one of the most messy things to do. Like literally, look at my hand. The chocolate is everywhere. I'm literally not gonna be surprised if I find some in my hair. The cookbook doesn't mention covering your chocolate mousse before putting it in the fridge, but I am going to cover it with cling film because you know how dishes can absorb the smell of your fridge, and I just really do not want my chocolate mousse tasting like spring onions. Okay, now these are going to go in the fridge for at least 2 hours. I'm going to leave them in for 2 hours exactly because I can't bother to wait that long. You know when it's looking that good and it's just like, and you know when you got a chocolate dish and like, anyway. So this is going in the fridge for 2 hours, and then I'm going to take it out and I'm going to try it. It also says that you can refrigerate this overnight, so I think the earlier you eat it, I'm sure the nicer it is, or the better, the safer it is, because like it is raw egg. Raw egg white. I know we cook the egg yolk, but yeah, because it is raw eggs, do be careful. I did look it up to see if it was safe in England, and it does say just to make sure that the British stamp is on it if you're going to try this recipe in the UK, but I'm not sure what it's like in other countries. I'm not sure whether raw egg is safe, but definitely do your research before you make this recipe because I don't want to be the reason y'all get salmonella. Okay, I am going to actually try some of the mousse mixture before it's actually properly set in the fridge, just so I've got something to compare to and see whether actually refrigerating it does make a difference. I know it's going to make a difference because it is going to set, but I want to see the comparison in texture, so let's go. There wasn't much, but this should do. Okay. That is so nice. It's definitely like chocolate orange, and it's not like, you know, you get the chocolate pots. I don't know what they call, chocolate pudding pots. It's a mix between that and chocolate mousse at the moment. So I can feel the air in it, but it's not up to like chocolate mousse texture yet. But that is delicious. Okay, 2 hours needs to come now, please. And thank you.
2 hours later.
Okay, the mousse is ready to eat. It's been about 2 hours and I'm ready to dive in. I'm so excited. I literally did like a pull and just look at that. I mean, I've never had a mousse this kind of consistency, but it looks divine, so I'm going to try it. I'm not going to use the spoon because I'm not a savage. I've made a little mini pot because I'm going to be sharing that one. And I kind of want it to still look nice, not like I've taken a bite out of it. So I'm going to try this one. So cute. Okay, it didn't fall on my head. Let's do this. This is so nice. I'm really making some damage in there. Oh, that's good. It really is like moussey. It's not like crazy too many bubbles like you do get in like the little tubs that you can buy, but it's so rich. And you know what, I stand by Julia Child for this recipe because she says she likes to add some orange liqueur into it because it like adds a little bit of pizzazz, and oh my gosh, it does. Like if you don't like chocolate orange, this is not for you, but if you like chocolate orange like I do, like oh my gosh, it is lovely. Oh, it's tasty. Like my mouth is drooling. So when I say it's got a mousse kind of texture, you can taste the bubbles. Like you can feel the bubbles in your mouth, but it's, I wouldn't say gooey. I honestly, it's kind of like, you know what? Okay, I got it. I've got the perfect example. So this kind of has the same texture as, what is that thing called? Like the marshmallow thing? I don't know what it's called. Mellow marsh? No, it's not called that. But the marshmallow fluff. yeah, it's got a similar kind of texture as that in terms of like how like it does this kind of thing. I'm gonna show you. And like this kind of thing. It's like the fluff. So it is really nice, but with the added bubbles, it kind of like melts in your mouth. It's like hitting all of the palates, every single like taste bud. Oh my gosh. It's so nice. You can't taste the alcohol at all, and you can taste like a slight hint of that coffee, but it really brings out the taste of the chocolate. And it's like a well-known fact, especially, well, it's a well-known fact in the culinary world, that when you are cooking with chocolate, you often tend to put coffee in there as well, because it brings out the taste, the flavour of the cocoa. Let's get on to ratings. Okay, so for taste, I'm going to give it a 5-star. It says it serves 6, I believe, but honestly, you could do with a smaller portion because it's really rich, luxurious. It tastes very expensive, and I honestly think that if you had more, like if you had the correct serving amount, I think you'd feel a bit ill afterwards, because it can be too rich, especially if you're in France. You know that it's not just like a 3-course meal, it's like a multiple course meal. So having this at the end is just going to be a bit much, unless it's just literally like 1 teaspoonful. But if you're eating it as like a normal 3-course meal, or just having it on the side, I still think it's too large. So I'd advise like a max 2 tablespoons of this. But it was amazing, so definitely that is why it's getting a 5-star. In terms of ease of source, everything was easy to find. Not one thing was difficult to find, so it was phenomenal in terms of that. So again, I'm gonna give that a 5-star. And in terms of difficulty, it wasn't difficult. Each of the steps were easy to follow. You know what though? I'm not gonna take this into consideration when talking about this recipe in particular, but I will go into more detail when I do the overview of this cookbook. But one thing that is apparent is that there are so many like asterisks and like look at page blah 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 and look at page blah blah, and this recipe isn't too bad with that actually, because it does reference it references methods more than recipes in this one, so it's more helpful than anything. But in other ones, one coming up, literally, honestly, it's just the most frustrating one, and I'll go into more detail. But anyway, for this one, it was super easy to do. None of the steps were particularly difficult. It was a lot easier than I thought it was, so that's going to get a 5-star. And this is, wow, it's got 5 stars overall, and it definitely deserves it. So if you want to try this recipe, I will put a link down below to the cookbook. But yeah, so overall 5 stars, and that is amazing. Oh, you know, this is going to be a staple in my household. It's not going to be like a, you know, we're not going to eat it too much, but it's going to be like a once or twice a year kind of thing, you know, if we're having a dinner party and we want to be a little bit extravagant. Time for price and advice. This dish costs £5.82 overall, and that's 97p per serving for 6 people, or 73p per serving for 8 people. Of course, if you don't have orange liqueur in the cupboard already, this can be much pricier. In terms of advice, I think this would have been much nicer if it was a bit lighter, so rather than mixing in the first quarter of egg whites, fold it in like the rest. If you don't like chocolate orange, you could also replace it with brandy, which is the way my family tend to make it. And finally, I let the rest of the mousse chill overnight in the fridge, and it was much lighter. I would definitely advise being patient and just waiting for it to set properly. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Don't forget to check out One Dotty Duck as well on Instagram and on Etsy, because her earrings are fire. But for now, peace! Hi, it's Fabs and welcome back to a French kitchen. That is not...